In this video, we're going to be talking about making half rectangle triangle units. So if you've been doing any quilting at all, you've probably already learned how to make a half square triangle unit, which normally we just cut out our squares, we sew them together, and then we cut them apart, we get something like this. So that's how you make a half square triangle unit. When you're using rectangles, you might be tempted to just do the same thing that you did with your square and just draw the lines and sew down the center of your rectangle. But if you do that, you end up with something like this, and that is obviously not what we want. So today we're going to talk about how to make a real half rectangle triangle unit. So what you're going to do is you are going to draw the line on this down the center of one of your rectangles, but you don't place them directly together. You have to put them corner to corner, kind of going the other way. And the other thing that's different about making half rectangle units instead of half square units is that the direction that you lay your rectangles will make a difference in how the unit finishes up. So if you can see here, and I also recommend before you cut these apart to test these to make sure that your triangles are going in the right way. So if you see, if I open this up, when I cut this apart, that's what that rectangle is going to look like. And if I do that with this one, where the rectangle is going the other way, you can see they're mirror images of each other. They're not identical. And no matter what I do to flip this around, I cannot get this rectangle to look like this one where the dark green is down in the lower right. It just doesn't work. So that's why when you're doing these, you have to be absolutely sure that you have oriented your rectangles going the correct direction. So now I've sewn those together, and I'm going to cut them apart down the middle just as if we were making a half square triangle unit. And you're going to get something that looks like this. Okay, so that's what they look like when you cut them apart. And then when you open them up, you get this, a half rectangle triangle unit. To trim my block, there's actually a really easy way to do this. I want my finished unit to be 3 inches by 4 inches. So I need to cut it to 3.5 by 4.5 inches. So I've cut a piece of freezer paper, which is what I want the finished size to be, which is 3 by 4 inches. And then when you add the 1/2 inch seam allowance, you'll end up with a 3.5 by 4.5 inch unit. So what I've done is draw a line diagonally from corner to corner on that 3 by 4 piece of freezer paper, and I ironed it to the unit, and I centered it so that the corners of the freezer paper line up with the seam on the block, and I want to make sure that I leave myself at least 1/4 inch all around. And then what I'm going to do is just take a ruler and my rotary cutter, and I'm going to cut 1/4 inch away from the edge of that freezer paper. So this is going to be my 1/4 inch seam allowance here. And then I'm going to go around and I'm going to do that to all 4 edges and just trim that. And then it's going to look like this. So here you can see the 3 by 4 inch piece of freezer paper, and then there's a 1/4 inch seam allowance all around. And then when I remove the freezer paper, I've got a perfectly trimmed half rectangle unit. And you'll notice that when I trimmed it, those seams are now not exactly in the corners. They're offset just a little bit, probably less than 1/8 inch. And that's what you need to do to get your seam allowances right when you sew these together.